Welcome to our virtual class today. So, we will be discussing the following: ICT career opportunities, ACM Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct, and Code of Ethics for ICT professionals. So, for ICT career opportunities, we have developer as a programmer for software, multimedia, and web. So you can be an application programmer, a system engineer, a software architect, a database developer, a game designer, and an e-commerce developer. So what are the jobs and responsibilities of a software developer? So create, maintain, and modify computer and software programs such as operating systems, communication software, utility programs, and compilers. For multimedia developer, they uses a range of creative software to create and manipulate graphic images, animations, sound, text, and video into programs with instructional and graphic strategies. These programs are used to produce CD-ROMs, information kiosks, multimedia presentations, websites, and entertainment or education products. While the web developer creates software solutions specifically for internet and intranet websites. They are also responsible for design, implementation, and support of web applications and website content changes and upgrades. For an analyst, you can be a business analyst, system analyst, network analyst, database analyst, and test analyst. For business analysts, they review, analyze, and evaluate the overall business and information needs of an organization to develop solutions to business and related technology problems. So in this diagram, we also have a day in the life of a business analyst wherein they brainstorm requirements, a solution needs. They work in cooperation with their project managers. They also gain an understanding of the organization's business processes relevant to a project's goal. They document processes to help refine the project that they are trying to solve. Next, we have a system analyst. So match business and system requirements, including developing data and system process flow, diagrams, charts, and specifications to suit different needs. So basically, they also uses various design tools such as flowcharts, input process output. They also use block diagrams in order to describe the logical flow of the program. Next, we have the database analyst, develop and maintain databases, ensuring optimum performance and problem solution. Next, we have the test analyst, specify requirements, develop test cases, and execute these test cases against requirements. So in this diagram, a test analyst can perform test plan, test evaluation summary, change requests, test guidelines, test ideas list, different test cases, workload analysis model, test data, and test results. Next, we have the network analyst, research and recommend policies and strategies for an organization's network infrastructure. Next, we have an engineer. Engineer may also concentrate on the hardware, telecommunications, and technical aspect. So they can be an application programmer, a system engineer, a software architect, a database developer, games designer, or an e-commerce developer. So a hardware engineer is responsible for the architecture, design, implementation, development, and support of a computer's hardware infrastructure. So they are more responsible on the tangible part of the computer system. Next, we have the telecom engineer, design, implement, and support data communication systems, including cable, optical, and wireless technologies. While the technical engineer is responsible for designing, building, manufacturing, implementing, and supporting computer systems, the role includes both hardware and software and the interaction between the two. Next, we also have end user and technical support, which can be a computer operator, a help desk operator, a database administrator, a support technician, a trainer, and network administrator. So a computer operator provide ICT support and maintain computer infrastructure. The support technician install and configure software and hardware. The help desk operator provide first level technical assistance for computer users. They also receive, diagnose, and solve most user queries. The network administrator install, configure, maintain, and support an organization's network environment. The database administrator facilitate the management, access, retrieval, sharing, and configuration of large amounts of data through the design, implementation, and maintenance of computerized databases. So here is the top list or top skills for database administrators. So you are knowledgeable on the basic statistics, database backups and recovery, database reporting and querying, and of course, data security. So some of the software that can be used are Python or SQL, MySQL, and the like. Next, we also have a trainer, provide instruction about computer hardware and software to computer user. So they provide information and knowledge to those non-technical users. Next, we have the security specialist, manage the security of an organization system infrastructure, investigate and resolve incidents, monitor for intrusions, provide virus protection defenses, and secure systems from unauthorized use. So I think this is also one of the important important career in ICT. Next, we have ICT sales and marketing specialist, sell computer hardware, software, telecommunications, and IT services. They also manage the sourcing and delivery of products to customer. So now let's proceed with the ACM organization. So what is ACM? ACM stands for Association for Computing Machinery. It is a US-based international learned society for computing. It was founded in 1947 and is the world's largest scientific and educational computing society. So the ACM is a nonprofit professional membership group claiming nearly 100,000 student and professional members as of 2019. Its headquarters are in New York City. So the ACM is an umbrella organization for academic and scholarly interests in computer science or informatics. Its motto is advancing computing as a science and profession. So we have here the preamble of the ACM Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct. So computing professionals' actions change the world. To act responsibly, they should reflect upon the wider impacts of their work, consistently supporting the public good. The ACM Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct expresses the conscience of the profession. So the code is designed to inspire and guide the ethical conduct of all computing professionals, including current and aspiring practitioners, instructors, students, influencers, and anyone who uses computing technology in an impactful way. Additionally, The code serves as a basis for remediation when violations occur. So the code includes principles formulated as statements of responsibility based on the understanding that the public good is always the primary consideration. So each principle is supplemented by guidelines which provide explanations to assist computing professionals in understanding and applying the principle. So we will be discussing the various code of ethics and professional conducts. So the first one is the general ethical principles. So a computing professional should 1.1 contribute to society and to human well-being, acknowledging that all people are stakeholders in computing. So this principle, which concerns the quality of life of all people, affirms an obligation of computing professionals, both individually and collectively, to use their skills for the benefit of society, its members, and the environment surrounding them. So this obligation includes promoting fundamental human rights and protecting each individual's right to autonomy. An essential aim of computing professionals is to minimize negative consequences of computing, including threats to health, safety, personal security, and privacy. So when the interests of multiple groups conflict, the needs of those less advantaged should be given increased attention and priority. 1.2 is to avoid harm. So in this document, harm means negative consequences, especially when those consequences are significant and unjust. Examples of harm include unjustified physical or mental injury, unjustified destruction and disclosure of information, and unjustified damage to property, reputation, and the environment. So this list is not exhaustive. So well-intended actions, including those that accomplish assigned duties, may lead to harm. When that harm is unintended, those responsible are obliged to undo or mitigate the harm as much as possible. So avoiding harm begins with careful consideration of potential impacts on all those affected by decisions. So when harm is an intentional part of the system, those responsible are obligated to ensure that the harm is ethically justified. In either case, ensure that all harm is minimized. Next, we have 1.3, be honest and trustworthy. So honesty is an essential component of trustworthiness. A computing professional should be transparent and provide full disclosure of all pertinent system capabilities, limitations, and potential problems to the appropriate parties. Making deliberately false or misleading claims, fabricating or falsifying data, offering or accepting bribes, and other dishonest conduct are violations of the code. Computing professionals should be honest about their qualifications and about any limitations of their competence to complete a task. Computing professionals should be forthright about any circumstances that might lead to either real or perceived conflicts of interest or otherwise tend to undermine the independence of their judgment. Furthermore, commitment should be honored. Next, we have 1.4, be fair and take action not to discriminate. So the values of equality, tolerance, respect for others, and justice govern this principle. Fairness requires that even careful decision processes provide some avenue for redress of grievances. Computing professionals should foster fair participation of all people, including those of underrepresented groups. Prejudicial discrimination on the basis of age, color, disability, ethnicity, family status, gender identity, labor union membership, military status, nationality, race, religion or belief, sex, sexual orientation, or any other inappropriate factor is an explicit violation of the code. Harassment, including sexual harassment, bullying, and other abuses of power and authority, is a form of discrimination that, amongst other harms, limits their access to the virtual and physical spaces where such harassment takes place. Next, we have 1.5, respect the work required to produce new ideas, inventions, creative works, and computing artifacts. Developing new ideas, inventions, creative works, and computing artifacts creates value for society, and those who expend their effort should expect to gain value from their work. Computing professionals should therefore credit the creators of ideas, inventions, work, and artifacts, and respect copyrights, patents, trade secrets, license agreements, and other methods of protecting authors' works. Next, we have 1.6, respect privacy. So the responsibility of respecting privacy applies to computing professionals in a particularly profound way. Technology enables the collection, monitoring, and exchange of personal information quickly, inexpensively, and often without the knowledge of the people affected. Therefore, a computing professional should become conversant in the various definitions and forms of privacy and should understand the rights and responsibilities associated with the collection and use of personal information. Next, 1.7, honor confidentiality. Computing professionals are often entrusted with confidential information such as trade secrets, client data and information, non-public business strategies, financial information, research data, pre-publication scholarly articles, and patent applications. Computing professionals should protect confidentiality except in cases where it is evidence of the violation of law, of organizational regulations, or of the code. In these cases, the nature or contents of that information should not be disclosed except to appropriate authorities. A computing professional should consider thoughtfully whether such disclosures are consistent with the code. Next, let's proceed with another part of the ACM Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct, which is number 2, professional responsibilities. A computing professional should, 2.1, strive to achieve high quality in both the processes and products of professional work. Computing professionals should insist on and support high quality work from themselves and from colleagues. The dignity of employers, employees, colleagues, clients, users, and anyone else affected either directly or indirectly by the work should be respected throughout the process. Computing professionals should respect the right of those involved to transparent communication about the project. Professionals should be cognizant in any serious negative consequences affecting any stakeholder that may result from poor quality work and should resist inducements to neglect their responsibility. Next, we have 2.2, maintain high standards of professional competence, conduct, and ethical practice. So high quality computing depends on individuals and teams who take personal and group responsibility for acquiring and maintaining professional competence. Professional competence starts with technical knowledge and with awareness of the social context in which their work may be deployed. Professional competence also requires skill in communication, in reflective analysis, and in recognizing and navigating ethical challenges. Upgrading skills should be an ongoing process and might include independent study, attending conferences or seminars, and other informal or formal education. Professional organizations and employers should encourage and facilitate these activities. Next, 2.3, know and respect existing rules pertaining to professional work. Rules here include local, regional, national, and international laws and regulations, as well as any policies and procedures of the organizations to which the professional belongs. Computing professional must abide by these rules unless there is a compelling ethical justification to do otherwise. Rules that are judged unethical should be challenged. A rule may be unethical when it has an inadequate moral basis or causes recognizable harm. A computing professional should consider challenging the rule through existing channels before violating the rule. A computing professional who decides to violate a rule because it is unethical or for any other reason must consider potential consequences and accept responsibility for that action. 2.4, accept and provide appropriate professional review. High quality professional work in computing depends on professional review at all stages. Whenever appropriate, computing professionals should seek and utilize peer and stakeholder review. Computing professionals should also provide constructive, critical review of others' work. Next, we have 2.5. Give comprehensive and thorough evaluations of computer systems and their impacts, including analysis of possible risks. Computing professionals are in a position of trust and therefore have a special responsibility to provide objective, credible evaluations and testimony to employers, employees, clients, users, and the public. Computing professionals should strive to be perceptive, thorough, and objective when evaluating, recommending, and presenting system descriptions and alternatives. Extraordinary care should be given to identify and mitigate potential risks in machine learning systems. A system for which future risks cannot be reliably predicted requires frequent reassessment of risk as the system evolves in use or it should not be deployed. Any issues that might result in major risk must be reported to appropriate parties. Next, we have 2.6. Perform work only in areas of competence. A computing professional is responsible for evaluating potential work assignments. So this includes evaluating the work's feasibility and advisability and making a judgment about whether the work assignment is within the professional's area of competence. If at any time before or during the work assignment the professional identifies a lack of unnecessary expertise, they must disclose this to the employer or client. The client or employer may decide to pursue the assignment with the professional after additional time to acquire the necessary competencies, to pursue the assignment with someone else who has the required expertise, or to forego the assignment. A computing professional's ethical judgment should be the final guide in deciding whether to work on the assignment. 2.7, foster public awareness and understanding of computing related technologies and their consequences. As appropriate to the context and one's abilities, computing professionals should share technical knowledge with the public, foster awareness of computing, and encourage understanding of computing. So these communications with the public should be clear, respectful, and welcoming. Important issues include the impacts of computer systems, their limitations, their vulnerabilities, and the opportunities that they present. Additionally, a computing professionals should respectfully address inaccurate or misleading information related to computing. Next, we have 2.8, access computing and communication resources only when authorized or when compelled by the public good. Individuals and organizations have the right to restrict access to their systems and data so long as the restrictions are consistent with other principles in the code. Consequently, computing professionals should not access another's computer system, software, or data without a reasonable belief that such an action would be authorized or a compelling belief that it is consistent with the public good. A system being publicly accessible is not sufficient grounds on its own to imply authorization. Under exceptional circumstances, a computing professional may use unauthorized access to disrupt or inhibit the functioning of malicious system. Extraordinary precautions must be taken in these instances to avoid harm to others. 2.9, design and implement systems that are robustly and usably secure. Breaches of computer security cause harm. Robust security should be a primary consideration when designing and implementing systems. Computing professionals should perform due diligence to ensure the system functions as intended and take appropriate action to secure resources against accidental and intentional misuse, modification, and denial of service. As threats can arise and change after a system is deployed, computing professionals should integrate mitigation techniques and policies such as monitoring, patching, and vulnerability reporting. Computing professionals should also take steps to ensure parties affected by data breaches are notified in a timely and clear manner, providing appropriate guidance and remediation. Next, three is the professional leadership principle. So leadership may either be a formal designation or arise informally from influence over others. In this section, leader means any member of an organization or group who has influence, educational responsibilities, or managerial responsibilities. While these principles apply to all computing professionals, leaders bear a heightened responsibility to upload and promote them both within and through their organizations. So therefore, a computing professional, especially one acting as a leader, should 3.1 ensure that the public good is the central concern during all professional computing work. So people, which includes users, customers, or clients, colleagues, and others affected directly or indirectly, should always be the central concern in computing. So the public good should always be an explicit consideration when evaluating tasks associated with research, requirements analysis, design, implementation, testing, validation, deployment, maintenance, retirement, and disposal. So computing professionals should keep this focus no matter which methodologies or technique they use in their practice. So basically, when we talk about this task, these are some of the tasks performed by a system analyst, a programmer, or any member of the software development team. So they research, they perform requirements analysis, they also perform designing using various design tools, how they will implement the system, the different types of testing that they will be using in testing the software itself, how are they going to validate the data entry, and how are they going to validate the system itself. Deployment is pertains to releasing the product to its target users. How are they going to deploy it? And then the maintenance is one of tedious part of the system development team, where it is considered as an ongoing cycle of the software development. And retirement and disposal is when those legacy software retires or do not have any updates. Okay, so next is 3.2. Articulate, encourage acceptance of, and evaluate fulfillment of social responsibilities by members of the organization or group. So technical organizations and groups affect broader society, and their leaders should accept the associated responsibilities. Organizations, through procedures and attitudes oriented toward quality, transparency, and the welfare of society, reduce harm to the public and raise awareness of the influence of technology in our lives. So therefore, leaders should encourage full participation of computing professionals in meeting relevant social responsibilities and discourage tendencies to do otherwise. Next, we have 3.3, manage personnel and resources to enhance the quality of working life. Leaders should ensure that they enhance, not degrade, the quality of working life. Leaders should consider the personal and professional development, accessibility requirements, physical safety, psychological well-being, and human dignity of all workers. Appropriate human-computer ergonomic standards should be used in the workplace. 3.4. Articulate, apply, and support policies and processes that reflect the principles of the code. Leaders should pursue clearly defined organizational policies that are consistent with the code and effectively communicate them to relevant stakeholders. In addition, leaders should encourage and reward compliance with those policies and take appropriate action when policies are violated. Designing or implementing processes that deliberately or negligently violate or tend to enable the violation of the code's principle is ethically unacceptable. Next, 3.5, create opportunities for members of the organization or group to grow as professionals. Educational opportunities are essential for all organization and group members. Leaders should ensure the opportunities are available to computing professionals to help them improve their knowledge and skills in professionalisms, in the practice of ethics, and in their technical specialties. So these opportunities should include experiences that familiarize computing professionals with the consequences and limitations of particular types of system. Computing professionals should be fully aware of the dangers of oversimplified approaches, the improbability of anticipating every possible operating condition, the inevitability of software errors, the interactions of systems and their context, and other issues related to the complexity of their profession, and thus be confident in taking on responsibilities for the work that they do. Next, 3.6, use care when modifying or retiring systems. So interface changes, the removal of features, and even software updates have an impact on the productivity of users and the quality of their work. Leaders should take care when changing or discontinuing support for system features on which people still depend. Leaders should thoroughly investigate viable alternatives to removing support for a legacy system. So these legacy systems, these are software that are retiring or do not have any more updates. So if these alternatives are unacceptably risky or impractical, the developer should assist stakeholders' graceful migration from the system to an alternative. Users should be notified of the risk of continued use of the unspotted system long before support ends. Computing professionals should assist system users in monitoring the operational viability of their computing systems and help them understand that timely replacement of inappropriate or outdated features or entire systems may be needed. That's why sometimes when they are trying to retire a particular system, they give notification to those users so that they are aware that there are no more updates in the system. So next, 3.7, recognize and take special care of systems that become integrated into the infrastructure of society. Even the simplest computer systems have the potential to impact all aspects of society when integrated with everyday activities such as commerce, travel, government, healthcare, and education. So when organizations and groups develop systems that become an important part of the infrastructure of society, their leaders have an added responsibility to be good stewards of these systems. Part of that stewardship requires establishing policies for fair system access, including for those who may have been excluded. That stewardship also requires that computing professionals monitor the level of integration of their systems into the infrastructure of society. As the level of adoption changes, the ethical responsibilities of the organization or group are likely to change as well. So continual monitoring of how society is using a system will allow the organization or group to remain consistent with their ethical obligations outlined in the code. So when appropriate standards of care do not exist, computing professionals have a duty to ensure they are developed. Next, let's proceed with number 4, compliance with the code. A computing professional should, 4.1, uphold, promote, and respect the principles of the code. The future of computing depends on both technical and ethical excellence. Computing professionals should adhere to the principles of the code and contribute to improving them. Computing professionals who recognize breaches of the code should take actions to resolve the ethical issues they recognize, including when reasonable, expressing their concerns to the person or persons thought to be violating the code. 4.2, treat violations of the code as inconsistent with membership of the ACM. So each ACM member should encourage and support adherence by all computing professionals regardless of ACM membership. ACM members who recognize a breach of the code should consider reporting the violation to the ACM, which may result in remedial action as specified in the ACM's Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct Enforcement Policy. So now let's proceed with the Code of Ethics for information technology professional. So for the purposes of this code, the following terms are defined as follows. So information technology, it is the preparation, collection, creation, transport, retrieval, storage, access, presentation, and transformation of electronic information in all its forms, including but not limited to voice, graphics, text, video, data, and images. While information technology professional is defined as someone who develops or provides information technology products and or services to the public. So we have preamble. I will use my special knowledge and skills for the benefit of the public. I will serve employers and clients with integrity, subject to an overriding responsibility to the public interest. And I will strive to enhance the competence and prestige of the professional. By this, I mean, number one, I will promote public knowledge, understanding, and appreciation of information technology. Number two, I will consider the general welfare and public good in the performance of my work. Number three, I will advertise goods or professional services in a clear and truthful manner. Next, I will comply and strictly abide by the intellectual property laws, patent laws, and other related laws in respect of information technology. I will accept full responsibility for the work undertaken and will utilize my skills with competence and professionalism. I will make truthful statements on my areas of competence as well as the capabilities and qualities of my products and services. I will not disclose or use any confidential information obtained in the course of professional duties without the consent of the parties concerned, except when required by law. I will try to attain the highest quality in both the products and services I offer. I will not knowingly participate in the development of information technology systems that will promote the commission of fraud and other unlawful acts. I will uphold and improve the IT professional standards through continuing professional development in order to enhance the IT profession. Okay, so those are some of the code of ethics for computing and information technology professional. So let's try to review what we have discussed. So basically, we just review the ECM Code of Ethics and the Professional Ethics. So let's review what we have discussed. Okay, so to begin with, we have mentioned some of the ICT career opportunities. So we have a software developer, a multimedia developer, a web developer. We have a business analyst, a system analyst, a database analyst, a test analyst, network analyst. We also have career opportunities for hardware, telecommunications, and technical aspect. So we have the hardware engineer, the telecom engineer, the technical engineer, and the end user and technical support. We have the computer operator, the support technician, the help desk operator, the network administrator. We have the database administrator, the trainer, the security specialist, the ICT sales and marketing specialist. And then we have discussed the ACM organization. ACM stands for Association for Computing Machinery. So we have this preamble, which is the summary of the ACM Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct. Then we discuss the general ethical principle, which includes contribution to society, to human well-being, acknowledgement that all people are stakeholders in computing. We have avoid harm, be honest and trustworthy, be fair and take action not to discriminate, respect the work required to produce new ideas, inventions, creative works, and computing artifacts, respect privacy. We have honor, confidentiality. We also have code of ethics for professional responsibilities. So strive to achieve high quality in both the processes and products of professional work. Maintain high standards of professional competence, conduct, and ethical practice. Know and respect existing rules pertaining to professional work. Accept and provide appropriate professional review. Give comprehensive and thorough evaluations of computer systems and their impacts, including analysis of possible risks. Perform work only in areas of competence. Foster public awareness and understanding of computing, related technologies and their consequences. Access computing and communication resources only when authorized or when compelled by the public good. Design and implement systems that are robustly and usably secure. For the professional leadership principles, we have ensure that the public good is the central concern. Ensure that the public good is the central concern during all professional computing work. Then articulate, encourage, accept of, and evaluate fulfillment of social responsibilities by members of the organization or group. Manage personnel and resources to enhance the quality of working life. Articulate, apply, and support policies and processes that reflect the principle of the code. Create opportunities for members of the organization or group to grow as professionals. Use care when modifying or retiring systems. Recognize and take special care of systems that become integrated into the infrastructure of society. And then we also have a code for compliance with the code itself. Uphold, promote, and respect the principles of the code. Treat violations of the code as inconsistent with membership in the ACM. And we also have the code of ethics for information technology professionals. So we have 10 code of ethics for computing and information technology professionals.